Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the April JE call. Morgan is helping out with 495 that's been hosting down there in Tucson this week. So myself and Rick will be holding down the fort for this call. Uh, and some for the new folks here. This call purpose is mainly just information sharing between the JEs and some of the RDA staff, just to promote some coordination and other information sharing. So welcome. I'm not going to go through a thorough roll call, but if you had joined in via phone, if you would, please put your name in the chat and state that you join in. Okay. So again, I'm TJ Boyer. Um, Notes will be captured for this meeting and will be posted to the RD&A site. Also a recording of the meeting as well. So without further ado, some reminders that the any training dates that you guys have for with this refreshers, please let myself or Morgan or Rick know so we could capture it on the calendar. And the purpose of that is to coordinate with everyone, just in case there's some kind of outage or something going on with this application that we hopefully try not to have any impacts with what you guys have. So I'm gonna share here. So here on the RD&A site, you scroll down to the GAE editor resources, or you could go to the decision support toolbox and go to the GAE editor resources. On this page, scroll to the bottom. It's the GAE calendar. So if you click here, should take you to the Outlook calendar, and there you could find folks that have already given us dates, and we added those here. So just a little short demo there. And also on the GA side, the GA editors site page of the RD&A site, again, we have the recordings and also the notes for the meetings that you guys can go back and review. And also the monthly email correspondence get posted as well. Okay. So next thing is the administrative, the AA with this refresher that happened this year. The video has been captured and posted to the RD&A site, and then some instructions on how to obtain a certificate is there as well. So folks that have missed out, there's an opportunity to rewatch, and you also can capture a certificate from something new that we're doing this year. So back at the home site of the RD&A, you go to the AA with this refresher. And here's the video that's been posted, as well as the link to the Wildland Fire portal to obtain a certificate there. If there are any topics or anything that you guys want to see or would like to be added to next year's refresher, please let us know, and we can incorporate that to the next refresher. So please let us know. All right. So for emergent issues, this is part where Andrew got a question.
Yeah, just so I appreciate the requests for topics for those. When would you need those in order to incorporate them into the agency administrator refresher next year?
Excellent question, Andrew.
Sure.
Usually we put together the agenda for that sometime. We start on that around the start of February.
Okay. Thank you.
And the refresher itself is held at the end of March. So that's our window. Thanks. Appreciate the
Hey,
question.
thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Rick. Okay, so open up the floor for like emergent issues. Is there anything that we need to know about, or folks need to be informed of that's coming up? Please let us know. I'm gonna leave some time. Folks want to speak. Okay. Yeah, if there's anything, yeah, please let us know. Throughout this meeting, if something comes up, please chime in. We'll get that added. For us, new GAEs to the group, we haven't received anything of late that we know of. But if there's like change in staffing or to the group, please let us know. And we'll get with the new add-on and make sure they're in tune with the group. RD&A staffing. So Jim Menakis, he'll be joining us starting next week. He's detailing right behind Tammy Parkson as the acting program manager. She just finished her 120-day detail. So this was the vice Tim Sexton's position. So glad to have Jim to join us, and he should be starting next Monday. Clint Phillips, he's joined us on the detail Vice Aaron Noonan position that was here. So he's doing his stint with the group. Okay, so IFTDIS. Kim, did you join us?
I sure did. Thanks, TJ. Yeah, and thanks for reorganizing for us. I wanted to just mention a few things. I have to hop off the call, so I just thought we'd kind of get this out of the way and see if anyone had any questions. So yeah, we have been working with a group of detailers. Thanks to NAFRI and the Forest Service for pulling that together. But they're helping us build some curriculum for IFTDIS after all the interest we've gotten, spurred on by a couple things. The 90-day review for the Forest Service and the burn plan stuff has really ramped up the questions and requests for help as far as training goes. And then some of the things with the priority landscapes and dealing with, some of those assessments, risk assessments, et cetera. So anyway, we're going to be building some curriculum. And as we get closer to having some of that available for testing, we might reach out to a few people to help us figure out some ways to try it out and get some feedback. So stay tuned on that. We did post anything from the RT300 refreshers that we did using IFTDIS for burn plans, and those are all posted to the IFTDIS webinar page. So please check those out and share them around if there's folks that need to see that stuff that maybe didn't make a refresher. That's available. We released our map bookmarks feature, which we've been wanting to do for a very long time, and we're excited about that. Basically, you can now go into the map in IFTDIS and create a bookmark, so you don't have to keep rebuilding your map every time you move away from the screen. So I think everyone's going to really like that. And we are updating some of the environmental safety layers, which include the PCL, SDI, snag hazard, et cetera. Those will be updated here very soon. Those were updated at the end of March. And then we've got 2 new ones coming, and that's going to be the fire sheds and the high priority landscapes. So those will be available in the reference data set. And we've also updated the interagency fire perimeter layer is now updated. So, and then we fixed a couple bugs here that were causing some issues. So that's it for IFTDIS. We've been pretty busy and continue to get lots of interest and figuring out ways to get this into the hands of folks in the field. So If you have questions or thoughts or ideas, please hit us up. We love to hear that stuff. Thanks. And thanks, TJ, for having us.
Thanks, Kim. Awesome. All right. So, classic with this.
Yes. Okay. So a lot of things going on for WFDS, although a lot of it is behind the scenes and tough to see. So a couple of things that we are going to be doing. We've been saying for some time that we will be transitioning to having users log in through FAMAuth. So that federal users will use their PIV card and non-federal users will go through login.gov. That is still upcoming. Right now, our best estimate of timeline for that is sometime toward the end of summer into the fall. We will have more information on that as things get more firmed up. But an important part of that process is to make sure that you and everyone who needs access to WFDS has their information current in the system, especially their email address. That is the key that connects a login from FAMAuth to your actual WFDS account. And if that is not updated or is an old email address, it's not going to work for you. So I can't stress that enough. Update your email address. A couple other things going on. We are wrapping up finally our update to our Oracle database, and we will be pushing out the update for that. That release should go out. Currently, we're looking at early to mid-May. So coming up in a few weeks here. Important to note because this release will involve an outage of WFDS, probably for a day. So not just a few hours, but an actual offline time. We'll be trying to schedule that to minimize impacts to both ongoing fires, ongoing trainings, and everything else. So again, very important to have your trainings up on the calendar, as TJ mentioned. A couple other things. We've had a number of questions from units about incorporating pods into WFDS. We've come up with a plan to try and do that in a way that's easier for people. The National Pod Service went live last month, and that is hosted on the RMA dashboard. And there are instructions there for how units can add pods that they have developed into the National Service at the start of June. So very June 1st is our target date. That may flex a little bit. We're looking to take a snapshot of all the data in that pod service and load that into WFDS so that it is more easily available within WFDS for people to use. That means that if you would like to be able to see and work with that data in WFDS, get it into the National Pod Service before June. I'll put a link to the RMA site for the instructions for how to do all that in a few moments here. As mentioned, right now we are spending a lot of effort actually providing support to the S495 training for analysts that is going on down at NAFRI. We have both Morgan as a business lead and several developers that are there in the room with students. We have some of the developers for next generation WFDS there in the room as well, so that they can see what goes into kind of our peak traffic use of the system and how they need to design things so that users can actually use it when everyone is banging on the system. So those are the updates that we have for Classic WFDS. Any questions? Okay, Dylan, go ahead.
Yeah, hey Rick, I may have missed it on a previous call, but has the organizational needs assessment been updated to reflect the new RCA and CIM aspects of it?
It has not, and that is an excellent question. So what we were looking at is currently if WFDS were to incorporate the CIMT into a type 1 and type 2 incident, Irwin will not accept that value yet. So we've kind of held off on making that change. We will look as we go into the season here to see if we can get something in to specify on the existing organizational needs assessment that selecting a type 1 or type 2 incident management organization would mean type 1/complex incident management, or type 2/complex incident management. Because we're this close to sunsetting the application, that might be the extent of how we get that incorporated. In contrast, the next gen team has been fleshing out that organizational needs assessment and relative risk assessment specifically so that it matches that new complexity form and incorporates all of the complex incident management fields that go with it. So excellent question. Any others?
Hey, Rick, this is Chuck. I was
Hey.
wondering, when you get the pods linked in, is that going to be available as layers on the incident map under the objective shape, you know, the area I'm talking about?
We're still figuring out exactly how it'll go into the map. It'll come in as a static layer. The one thing that we know is it won't, because of how it's hosted at RMA, it won't come in with language associated with it. So what it will let you do is it will display in the map. You can then take and copy it over as an incident shape if you have specific guidance for your pods. So you'll be able to see it, query it, but to actually put the language in, you'll have to copy that over for an incident. But as far as where it fits in the table of contents in the map, we haven't settled that out really yet. If you have a preference or suggestion, send that to us.
I don't. I just know how it sits in there in the unit fire planning under the on the Tonto.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only one I know of that's in there right now. So
there are a couple of units that have loaded it in, and because right now the process that we have for it is really clunky. Essentially, units have to load individual pods one at a time, and that's why we've been looking for a better solution. When we get this loaded in, because it'll come in as a national static layer, it won't be under that unit fire planning for a specific unit. So I do know that much, but as for exactly where it'll fit, I couldn't tell you yet.
okay, thanks.
Dylan, you had your hand back up again, and then we'll get Aaron after. Dylan?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. If my hand's still up, it's a mistake.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Aaron.
So I'm just thinking in the context of like the new spatial fire management planning, or the new service, the spatial fire planning service that will feed into next gen. So in context that is coming, if a unit does upload pods kind of one by one into their other unit shapes, will that get kind of like brought over into the new spatial fire planning service automatically? Do you know how that would work, Rick?
Yes, it would. It would be brought over like any other. Some units have loaded them as management requirement shapes, and some as other unit shapes. And both of those different types would be pulled into the spatial fire planning service, and so would be available through that. If those units also uploaded those to the National Pod Service, you may see some duplication. But yes, anybody that has already put those into WFDS would also be able to see those in next gen through the spatial fire planning service.
Okay, just a follow-up question. So we would only upload them as management requirements if those pods were somehow already like gone through NEPA and were decisional, right? If they're just kind of normal pods, we wouldn't do that. Is that correct?
No, not necessarily. I would say that management requirements can come from a number of different sources. Some of those are for federal units, official policy documents, or things that are laid out by national law, policy, or regulation. Others can come from priorities for a local unit, and do not necessarily have to have a NEPA document associated with them. So you could have pods that give you some language direction that haven't gone through that process. However, the big limitation for management requirement shapes is those are limited to your unit boundary. And so you could not have ones that overlapped outside the unit boundary onto neighbors, which is somewhat against the whole foundation that we've had for developing pods.
Yeah, okay, that's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rick.
Yep, thanks, Aaron. Patrick.
Okay, mine ties back to that national feature service for the pods.
Mm-hmm.
So I've noticed already that in the national feature service, we do not have them updated yet for Region 5. So we have two different layers that cover most of the region with pods, but I guess two questions. The first question would be, do those ones that are not in the national feature service need to be updated or moved over? So an example is the North Coast Resource Partnership pods, or the ones that cover like basically the Sierra Nevada. If those would need to be moved over to the national, I'll let you answer that one.
So I would say I won't have all the answers on that, but I know that what we're looking to take a snapshot from is that national pod service. And if you have questions about what might come along with that, I would say Lauren Miller, who handles the pod service for the RMA dashboard, would probably be your best contact.
Okay, I'll go direct with her on that one. And then the other question I had was tied to is, if you're looking at the 1st of June, pulling that data set and bringing it into WFDIS, is there another follow-up time period, like maybe in the fall, that you're going to do an update, or are you going to wait until out of fire season, at least on the West Coast? That's
still to be determined. We would like to be able to update that on roughly a schedule the same as we update, allow people to put in like FMU and strategic objective updates. But it's kind of a new process. We're going to have to see how that goes with the staffing that we've got in our data shop. So we'll get this first one in, and then we'll try and figure out kind of what sort of update schedule we'll have for it.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Rick.
Yep, excellent question. Thanks, Patrick. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to real quick. So that's a good segue into data updates. And just to check, do we have Susan on the call? I don't think she was going to be able to make it, but I want to give her a chance to speak if she did. Okay, so for data updates, we've had a couple of things going on. We've had some of our folks attending the data summit that just happened down in College Station, Texas, getting updates there. We are working on the interagency wildfire perimeter history layer. For this year, this is probably the last year that we will be maintaining that layer. That is going to be transitioned over to WFIGS, the Wildland Fire Interagency Geospatial Services. But we're putting in some of the data that will be the foundation for that data set. And so the 2022 perimeters are in process, and we will get those into the application as quickly as we can. We are also getting interagency historical records from WFITS. The next FMU and strategic objective shape submission will take place. Let's see. Sorry, I read that one wrong. We just had the April submission go in. Those will be loaded into the Spatial Fire Planning Service by the end of May. We've had a number of people ask about whether or not we're going to have a new critical habitat layer for whitebark pine that was just listed as a threatened species. According to U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, they are not planning to designate a critical habitat polygon for the species, and so we will not have one within WFDIS as part of that. Some units have direction or guidance based on areas where whitebark pine occurs. Those units will have to load those into their own unit fire planning. I can try for any questions on data. Dylan, go ahead. Oh, Andrew, sorry.
Hey, thanks, Rick. The third bullet, it says WIFIDs. I'm assuming that means WIFIGs. Is that correct? Or is that a different interagency historical records layer?
I don't have the best answer on that, but because she made a point of noting WIFIGs in that second bullet, my understanding was that was something different. I'll have to get a question to Susan or Amanda for a follow-up on that one.
Okay. I'm pretty familiar with the data sets that are out there, but not familiar with the WIFIDs. That's a new one for me. So appreciate any clarification you can get.
Copy that. I'll follow up on it. Thanks, Andrew. Okay, not hearing anything else. TJ, I will turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Okay, Irwin status. So the latest news that came in. So on Thursday, June 1st, so around midnight to 1 o'clock Pacific time, there's a planned outage for Irwin production. So should last an hour, but it's just regular maintenance for the application. So shouldn't be any impacts afterwards, but we'll be monitoring with this to make sure that things are still working from that outage. Okay, so from the data summit last week, Irwin version 9, there was a draft for that came out, and for classic with this and next gen, things that on the table reviewing is Irwin is planning to work with next gen on discovery and integration for their system. So some of the things may go beyond version 9, but they're working to incorporate next gen to that. And then the next thing is the with this next gen and 209s, they're talking about updating the ADS values for the different suppression strategies as well as the relative risk rating. So what this means is with this we'll have like the higher ADS, so the higher authoritative data source. So usually 209 had that right kind of role, and with this read, so they're looking in the future to having just with this being the right role for that. So those are the impacts for with this for those applications. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, Rick, you want to share with us for next gen updates?
Okay, so for next generation WFDS, the team has been working a lot of tasks and has some things to check off the list. They have gone through their programming language updates. They have now gotten straightened out their code deployment mechanisms with the Department of Interior. And for end users, we have spatial inventory working for planning areas, perimeters, etc. Landscape generation, the relative risk and organizational needs assessments sections that we mentioned earlier with complex incident management teams, etc. And they have the interface for FS Pro designed and written and is starting to get integrated into the application. Those are the things that the team has been working on. The next push, however, is getting user authentication up and running through FAMOF. And that integration is what the team has started working on this week, and will be working on for the next foreseeable stretch. Also working at getting their code repository moved over to DOI from Forest Service. Developing the rest of the fire models, Farsight, FlamMap, minimum travel time, and also working on integrating in various charts, text control, PDF generation, and reports into the application. They put a link here again also to the user groups sign up portal. And that is something that we encourage people to, if they have any interest in providing feedback or seeing how some of this stuff is going to look, to sign up for those groups there. The next session coming up, let's see, we don't have a scheduled next session coming up. We just had a session on spatial fire planning, and the feedback window for that one just closed. So I would caution folks that we actually have an updated link to those user groups, and I'll drop that in the chat here at the meeting, and we'll get that sent out to folks as well. That got moved over to the RD&A website because of some issues with the FAMIT page. Okay, any questions for NextGen? All right, we'll turn it back over to you, DJ.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so we're getting to the round robin portion, but before we get into that, was there any other emergent issues that may came about throughout this meeting? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and go through each area. So I know there are some folks that are representing more than one area, but when we get to your area, please share any coordination opportunities or your anticipated fire activity that's coming up or trainings. And without further ado, we'll start with Alaska.
Hey, this is Brian Starwell. Looking at the list, I might be the only one on today. And, you know, I don't really have any info to share that would probably be pertinent to this call. Snow's melting, so we're getting there. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Brian. All right, Eastern area. Okay. Great Basin.
Give anybody else a chance. Nobody else is on. This is Dylan for Nevada BLM. Anyway, so we're going to be doing our WIFDIS training on May 17th from 0900 to 1300. So TJ, if you guys need me to send you an email or something, but that's going to be our date for our Nevada interagency training, and we may reach out and try to grab some additional regional partners as well. That's kind of yet to be determined. But we'll be doing the Nevada interagency WIFDIS training on May 17th, 0900 to 1300. And I didn't bring it up during the data updates because I know Susan's not on, but for the notes, if we can put in there, we're still waiting on our strategic objective shapes to be made available to us. They were submitted back in the March due date from us anyway. So I got some districts that are kind of chomping at the bit and waiting for those strategic objectives to be made available in WIFDIS. So we're past the due date, or we're past the date when those should have been back up according to the schedule. So just like some follow up on that if we can. And for most of Nevada BLM, we've done updates on our strategic objective shapes because we had some updated habitat layers that are associated with our greater sage grouse resource management plan amendment. So a lot of our Nevada BLM layers specifically were updated for those updated layers. And that's the end of my report. Is anybody else on from the Great Basin?
Hey, Dylan, let me just kind of jump in. We might need to see where something happened. We didn't receive any FMU or strategic objective shapes from that March deadline. So something didn't get connected through here. We'll do some tracking down and see if we can figure out. We'll check with Julie Osterkamp and see what happened there. But yeah, we didn't receive anything last month. We did just get some shapes in this month, and I don't know if yours are included in that.
Okay. Yeah, if we can make sure maybe Susan and Julie, I'll follow up with Julie too.
Okay.
And yeah, Dylan, could you send me an email with those dates that you mentioned?
Yeah, sure can.
I get those added ASAP. Thanks. Okay, anyone else from Gray Basin? Okay. Northern California. I'm used to saying North Ops, but North Ops.
No worries. I was looking around. I don't know if there's anyone else, even other agencies on for Northern or Southern California. So I'll just, from the Forest Service perspective, I'll put out what we have right now. Couple things. We are planning, I know it hasn't been updated yet, but we're planning to do a May 24th of WFDS refresher. It'll be online and that'll be coming up. I'll send you a notification once me and Scotland firm that up more. And then also we have a number of workshops with Forest that's going to be coming up as well to add to the calendars, because we have 6 forests that are looking for having assistance on the forest for like a driver workshop. One thing too is Josh Warden was detailed with us as a fire planner. His detailed is ended, so he'll be not with us as our GAE anymore. Just to share that. And then tying back to the pods, this is just one thing just to kind of share out with folks. We are kind of working on this effort to do an all lands approach of pods. That was the first part of that was that North Coast Resource Partnership, where it's across all boundaries. We're working our way around, and we've already completed some of those all lands from Modoc, Lassen, Plumas, Tahoe, and then Inyo. We've done some pieces there. Been in talks with CAL FIRE on also picking up some pieces. And then we're going to be reaching out to, what we're in the process of is reaching out with Southern California, with also the counties, Kern County, LA County, Orange County, Santa Barbara, Ventura, San Bernardino, getting them on board. And they're all interested in that as a tool, is getting that common operating picture of those pre-attack lines, and then also defining which ones we're going to be identifying as pods. As a layer out there as well. So that's just coming, and I'll update you as we get more information. I don't know if a lot of this is probably not going to make it into that June deadline, so we'll probably have some older pod boundaries that we'll bring in for that, that we'll clip over, but I'll talk with Lauren about that further, and Chris Dunn and Rebecca Weber. And that's about all I got at this point for updates.
Thanks, Patrick. And just to clarify, you say Joshua Warden, his details up.
Yes.
Okay. I'll make the change, and I'll send you a note that I made the change and with this for us as Rose goes.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else for Northern California? Okay, Southern California. All right, Northern Rockies.
Good afternoon. It's Jonathan Olson here. Not a whole lot to report. Still snowing as we speak here where I am in Montana. So fire season's still a little bit out. We are starting to get some information a little bit trickling in on refreshers. So when I get some dates finally, I'll get those passed on to get added on the calendar. Within the region also, Aaron Noonan-Wright has been working with our T&E species folks at the regional office to get some whitebark pine data so that we can load into WFDS based on the recent statusing of that species. So we're working on that within the region to capture that information. And I think that's about it. And unless Aaron or there's somebody from one of the other agencies that is on that has anything to share.
I guess just one more thing. This is Erin, U.S. Forest Service. We're in the process of doing pod workshops now. We'll have a lot of them probably in the service by June, but not all of them. So I guess we'll just have to figure what that looks like for the remaining forests for this summer. Unfortunately, those are the places that seem to be trending dry where we may have fires. So we'll figure that out. Yeah, this whitebark pine thing, Northern Rockies is doing a lot of work on that, and it's definitely it's a bigger thing than just like the Northern Rockies. You know, this is a multiple geographic area data set that is gonna probably be created. So just thinking about that as far as spatial representation going into the future, it seems to me there's just going to be a need for something at least regional, but more multi-regional. And maybe that's something that gets put in this new spatial fire planning service that can handle something like along that line. But yeah, a lot of work on that, a lot more detail than you would ever expect. Okay, end of report.
This is Carly DeMars too with the BLM in Northern Rockies, and I don't have much other than what both Aaron and Jonathan shared. It is still winter where I'm at as well. And two, BLM is working through the whitebark pine, but I'll probably be getting a hold of Aaron and Jonathan. Maybe we can collaborate. So end of report.
That'd be great.
Great, thank you. All right, Northwest.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Barry with the Oregon Washington BLM. I'll continue to get refreshers on the schedule as they come in. I did just learn about one on the Spokane district for tomorrow. I don't know if it's too late to worry about getting that one on the schedule or not, but as far as the next gen groups, I changed agencies and realized I hadn't been getting those emails since about last November. I recently went onto the website and filled out the form to get back on that list. And now I see that that is a different site than I used. I'm hoping that that form went to the same place from the old site to the new one, or I can also fill out the form on the new site. And speaking of changing agencies, run into this 3 times in the last couple of weeks as a new GAE, learning the process of getting somebody back their user roles who has changed agencies while they're disabled, and that being sort of a 3-step process. Worked with Morgan and got that all figured out for some folks, but didn't see that whole process spelled out real well in the GAE guide, and just wanted to maybe throw that one in there for something to add next time that gets updated. Not quite winter here in the Northwest. At the high elevations it still is, but even lower elevations are having a cool spring. Fire season's a bit out.
Hey, Barry, can we just kind of jump in real quick with a couple of things to those? One, okay, excellent suggestion for something to put in the GAE guide. I'll see if we can get that in there. Two, as far as for the next gen user groups, I would say go to the link I put in the chat, and it doesn't hurt to have duplicates in there. So just be sure go to the one on the RD&A website and sign up there. Because we definitely want you in there.
All right, thanks.
Hey, it's
Okay.
Kip Vandewater. I can jump in for the Forest Service real quick. Refreshers that we're aware of so far, we're having a regional, we're calling it a WFDS decision primer. That's going to be May 2nd. And then I know that the Willamette is having one on May 5th. And I believe the Rogue Siskiyou is having one on May 22nd. And when I'm not driving, I will try to follow up with an email to Rick, Morgan, and TJ about that. And with regards to pods on the Forest Service side, we should have everything, a current snapshot in the National Feature Service already for all the units that already have pods. We do have a smattering of units that are going to continue making updates, and we will be popping those updated pods into the National Feature Service as they come in. Our goal is to have them all in by May 1st, but not super confident we're going to be able to pull that off. So our backup goal, I guess, will be to get them in before June so they can be part of the snapshot in WFDS. And that's all I've got.
Cool, thanks. All right, Rocky Mountain.
Hi, everybody. This is Amy. I'll jump in for the Forest Service, and I know Gwennon's on. She might have some BLM info too, but Allison Richards is in a detail, and so I'm detailed behind her, and then Lindsay Wilgram is detailed behind me as our regional fire planner. So not a permanent change in GAEs, but I just wanted to make sure everybody is aware of that. We are starting to get some type 3 fires in southeastern Colorado. I know activity is picking up on state and grasslands as well down there. And then I know Nebraska and Kansas are seeing an increase in activity too. So we'll see, hopefully green up comes here soon. Most of our WFDS refreshers are complete. We do have one more scheduled on the Medbo route the first week of May. I believe I did send that date in there already. And we are planning on standing up our Interagency Decision Support Center for Region 2 towards the beginning of June. So we have begun discussions around that for WFDS. And then the final thing I have is our pods should be all in the Army dashboard by June. End of report.
And this is Gwen, and the only thing I'll add for BLM is our refreshers are still ongoing, and whenever I get notified, I let you guys know to get them on the calendar. But yeah, that's still happening. But other than that, Amy covered it. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Amy, you said the first week of May?
Yeah, that Wednesday.
Could you send me another note? I didn't call get
sure.
one for that.
Okay.
Cool, thanks. Anyone else for Rocky Mountain? All right, Southwest.
Yeah, it's the grants for BLM Arizona. All refreshers are done for the year, so they did them at the district level and helped out when needed. As far as we're about 3 weeks off for the lower tier of the state, having some activity along the Colorado River, but we're getting rather cool and activity's been slow for this time of year, but we're about 3 weeks away with fine fuels carrying. So that's all for BLM Arizona.
Okay, thank you. All right, and Southern. Okay. All right. So if there's nothing else, our next call will be July 20th. And until then, we'll send out our monthly correspondence. So the next one will be next month in May. Every third week of the month, we'll send out the correspondence until the meeting. So third week of for May for the next correspondence, and after that will be June, that third Thursday that week. So thanks again for joining. And if there are anything else that you guys have questions or need to reach out, on the agenda, there's a list of contacts. So feel free to reach out. And that concludes our meeting for April. Everyone have a good evening and a good afternoon.
Thanks, TJ.
Thank you.
Thank you.